are listening to Boob Tube Boys. I am Brian Vaughn. This is a show where three friends talk about TV shows however they feel like it. There's other people in the room with me. One of them is Van Lee. I can see him. He's tinkering with knobs. He's wearing headphones.
Realest guy in the room.
Realest guy in the room.
Probably don't want to say that anymore.
No,
right?
probably not.
Quite a claim you've got there.
Another man
do you
who
feel
can
you're realer?
lie claim to his reality, Spencer Hendricks.
Yeah,
he's over there.
that's-
He's not tinkering with knobs.
No, I'm tinkering with my face because I don't know quite how to cope with this. And when I get anxious, I touch my face. And I'm anxious that we're having another episode of California Dreams. But we're going to do it, and we're going to do it well.
Your fears are confirmed.
When I fall asleep and I have a dream, is that a California Dreams, being someone from California?
I think so, as the only Anaheimian person in the room, which might make you realist. I don't know.
Could be.
Okay.
Further that way.
That way?
I'm starting
Toward the real.
I'm starting to come around. I'm going to give you that mantle by
This
the end
is a
of
real
this podcast.
By the
West
end of this
Coast,
episode,
East Coast thing.
we'll be there. Yeah, how? In what capacity? This is a real West Coast,
This is a real-
Midwest
Well,
kind
I
of
mean,
thing.
Right.
I'm from New York, so obviously. And I'm not, just to clarify. And I also don't like wrestling. I want all of those
That's
things
your
out
second
Point that out
clarification.
every time. Yeah, I love it.
However, not necessary. Most people don't, I find, when I try to
there.
accost
It is
them
necessary
with
when I'm around you two. It
my
is.
wrestling
We've got
opinions
to-
on the street. What do you guys think about Mark Henry? World's
See,
strongest man.
that's a thing where you would like it if someone did that to you.
I would
you
love that.
And I just want it known that I would not like that.
Somebody get their wigs split.
Somebody gun. Or however it goes in that song.
Hey, what show is this?
I was going to say, are we going to talk about the episode? or are we just
Wrestling's
gonna
on
talk about
TV,
wrestling?
Van. Wrestling's on TV.
Fair enough.
This is Boob Tube Boys. Today we are, as Spencer said earlier, we're talking about California Dreams again. This is our second and final installment on California Dreams. This week we'll have Season 3, Episode 13, Rebel Without a Nerve.
Yeah.
Are you guys excited to talk
Oh,
about this episode of television?
So excited.
The first one was pretty solid, but this one really took the cake.
This is the grand
Sounds like
champion.
it spoke to you.
This was as we have said now on every episode and trial episode, this is when it hit its stride.
Uh-huh.
California Dreams was boom, full force.
Now, see, I'll get into this later, but I actually like the other one we discussed more.
Oh
Well, you're
my.
That's okay. I'll explain why.
We'll have a strong conflict later in the episode.
Well, we usually do. We'll settle it with a wrestling match since you guys are such big fucking wrestling
Well,
fans.
we would win because we know the moves.
That's true.
right.
I don't
Van.
know how to do the sharpshooter at all.
Van, give him the sharpshooter.
Spencer's
Oh.
just beating the hell out of us. We're all trying
Yeah,
to do
we're
wrestling
both trying
moves.
to do submission holds that don't hurt. This episode of California Dreams does take place later than the one we discussed before. It's near the end of Season 3, and just a quick refresher on the cast situation. There have been some
Because this is a
changes.
thing you have to do in a
Every
5-year
season.
run of a show.
Yeah, and
you have to do this
it's
constantly.
not even that deeper into the show. Is that like this
No.
is what? How many episodes since the last one?
Essentially one season, so
Right,
probably
so it's-
15 or so.
Yeah.
But there are some changes. Matt has moved away. Everybody's pumped about it in this room.
Yeah, get out of here, Matt.
I hate Matt.
We are not Matt fans in this instance. It's just not any good. And he's gone,
Do you
though.
want to know a Matt fact?
Yes, I do. Do you have one?
Matt fucking sucks.
That is a fact.
He's replaced by Mark Winkle.
It's a fact in the Guggenheim World Records book. Sorry.
That was a great.
That's a
Yeah.
call forward that will live in history forever. Mark Winkle, he joins the cast to replace Matt.
Mark Winkle?
Yes.
No, it isn't.
And I'll tell you this, he's Sly's cousin, and his name is Sly Winkle. So the Winkle family is the two Winkles. I didn't say the Winklevoss twins. This is just the Winkle twins.
I'm glad you did not confuse me with that.
So Matt's gone. We have another bland white guy with a middle part and brown hair in the cast instead, playing guitar and singing, although he doesn't do that in this episode. We also
no musical
no
song.
band.
no
No band
band
in this.
performance in Rebel Without a Nerve.
Too many motorcycles to fit the music in.
I just said musical song.
The best kind of song. Lorena, she also joins the cast here as a friend, a bit of a wealthy student, or the parents are wealthy anyway, And she and her family are housing Sam now that the Garrisons moved away.
She's the BB Bluff of this show.
She's the BB Bluff.
'Cause
That's
wasn't she
absolutely
loaded?
true.
Yeah,
she was
I
loaded.
feel like we did miss some important exposition there between these episodes because I was completely thrown by. Didn't Jake have a different girlfriend now?
Jake.
He was with the blonde
Jake
girl in
was
the
with
first.
Tiffany.
Yeah.
Jake was with Tiffany before.
And now he's got this other one.
They have a breakup, and I actually somehow, you guys will be shocked, I don't remember why. However, Lorena and Jake are with each other now, and there's an episode where Lorena auditions to be in the band and can't sing at all.
Oh,
they all realize
what
that.
a conflict for Jake that
Yeah,
must
well,
be.
Jake doesn't know. He's so love-struck, he can't
he's got
even
the
tell.
She
the
sounds
love
okay.
goggles.
Right, and then someone plays it
Rose-colored
back for him on a
glasses.
tape later, and he's like, who's this? This is the worst fucking singer I've ever fucking heard.
You know, Jake really screwed the pooch because Sam's right there.
Sam's right there.
And he
and
skipped her twice.
sometimes you just don't...
She's too pure at heart. For
Yeah,
Jake.
she's a
Fair.
That
Tony
would be a
gal. She
terrible-
stays with Tony throughout.
Terrible match.
Yeah. I'll let you guys know, though, that later, Jake and Tiffany get back together.
Good for them.
Should I react to this?
No, good for
you,
them.
You looked excited in your eyes. You're
I
not...
didn't.
You're not outwardly saying it, but your eyes glisten.
I mean,
Also, I
look.
saw a tear. It just kind of ran down your face.
I am
just now.
sobbing uncontrollably. Let's move past it.
Oh, that is a real tear, not a prison tattoo. Okay. So, Season 3, Episode 13, Rebel Without a Nerve, we begin... Yeah, it's pretty great. James Dean is not in this episode.
I don't get it. No, I don't get it. I'm confused.
We open in the PCH hallway, that's Pacific Coast High.
That's what they went with?
Yes, that's what they went
The
with.
Pacific Coast is kind of big. Why are you the Pacific Coast High?
California Dreams and their high school,
true.
it's center of the universe.
Yeah, they were pretty vague with all of that, to be honest.
The big news, though, is it's safety week at PCH, and we see Tony with his safety monitor sash and helmet on. Sam thinks this stuff's really hot, by the way, including when he blows his safety whistle later. We also see...
was this like the birth of their...
I don't know when exactly it happens,
Okay.
but they're already together in this episode.
I didn't even know that, actually. I didn't catch that, so I was confused.
They weren't very outward about it back then.
No,
in TV
yeah, it
shows.
didn't show up, so I had no idea.
We also meet here Principal Blumfeld,
Who's just great.
who's a wonderful Mr. Belding ripoff type character from Saved by the Bell. Just to the T. He's very nervous about what these crazy kids are going to do. And he's excited that the school's about to hit 1,000 days without an accident. That is going to put them firmly in what, Van?
The Guggenheim World Record book. Because if there's anything that California Dreams did not have, it's a budget to pay the name for the Guinness. Yeah, that's what it is, Guinness World Record. So they went with Guggenheim, which is, of course, the famous museum. Do you think the Guggenheim Museum, like product placement, paid here?
Do you think they asked for ad space in California Dreams?
We got to get on this thing because...
Probably. The same kids watching California Dreams have a hungry appetite for museums, which actually, now as I think about it, my sister and I did like going to museums as children.
Because you were total nerds.
Yeah, watching
This is
California
coming from a
Dreams,
nerd.
go to museums. Yeah, and you knew us then, and we definitely were total nerds.
Sister with her cat fancy magazines.
Blumfeld and Tony both want in the Guggenheim Book of World Records really badly. Blumfeld, so I assume he can prove he's the best high school principal in California or the world or something.
No, none of my students die ever.
Not until they find the bodies under my home. Meanwhile, Tony just wants his picture in there. He's a handsome guy, I get it. I can see wanting to be in the immortalized in your physical prime.
Well, you know, they say that there are, 4 motivators to the human being? It's money, prestige, Cheetos, and Hot Topic gift cards. No, I don't know the other 2, but money, prestige, or fame, prestige, whatever you want to
I would
call it.
imagine
So I think
love
it's
is somewhere in there, or
pretty
sex or
clear.
whatever.
Yeah. Oh, yes, that actually is one. But it's pretty clear that Tony here, his main motivator is the fame. He requires the love and admiration of others. And that's not a negative trait.
No.
Not at all.
I mean, if you got his personality and looks, I'd be the same way.
Sure.
Absolutely. Once Tony's husk departs this earth, we'll always remember him due to this immortalization, I would say. And that's why he's striving for that level of achievement. We're looking pretty deeply into Tony's ambitions with the safety team.
I like Tony. I don't mind
PCH.
doing that for him.
No, I really don't either.
I'll do that for him, and I'll do that for Sam. Those are great characters.
Blumfeld doesn't think Tony's enough to convince the rest of the students not to have accidents for the rest of the week, which I guess is the plot line here.
You need a lot of push because the kids at this
really
school
want to
are
have accidents.
I'm just going to hurt myself today.
A couple of years ago, those kids all got decapitated with those giant scissors they were walking around with in the hallway. All kinds of accidents apparently happen at this high school. It's the takeaway I had there is why was this principal so concerned?
Well, not for the last 3 years.
We're not going to get hurt.
Was anyone else a little weirded out that other high schools apparently have big accidents much more frequently than once every 1,000 days?
High school is kind of like a penitentiary in many ways. Like usually people are getting shanked and just horrible things happen regularly. So this is well worthy of the Guggenheim Hall of Fame.
At this point, he asks, Blumfeld being he asks Jake, hey, will you helm this safety team? Because people listen to Jake Summers.
Because he's cool.
He's cool. He's the epitome of cool. And there's no messing with that guy. Jake, of course, turns that shit down because he's too cool, which is a good reason not to be on the safety committee or whatever. I
think it's the reason not to be on the safety committee.
So Blumfeld has to settle for Sly Winkle, taking that role instead to be on the safety committee, which he very openly is only doing to, against their will, administer CPR to specifically cheerleaders.
A little bit creepy, or a lot creepy, whichever one you want to lean toward.
Yes, including one who he roller skates after to open the show. And throughout this episode, we're going to see a lot of Sly really wanting to maintain his safety squad position so that he can physically do things to women at the school.
Who are presumably near death is another key factor.
Yes, there might be a fire, an earthquake, could be anything. Meanwhile, Tiffany and Mark Winkle show up, and they warn Jake of something sinister on the horizon.
Is it that the kid's trying to spy on and rape other girls in school?
No, they think that's hilarious.
There's a peephole in the girls' locker room.
They think
that's that Porky's humor. It's old.
They
Let's
think
say that.
It's like Benny Hill humor too. Like even before that. I mean, it's essentially a guy is if he seems harmless, if we paint him as some sort of,
it's okay that he's a fucking rapist.
Some sort of imp. It's okay that he acts that way, which it absolutely isn't. And Sly is that for this whole episode. No one bats an eye. Because Tiffany and Mark, they're a little more concerned that this new kid... This new... Yeah.
He wasn't a day under 40.
He absolutely wasn't. We have a good friend named Kendall who's got that hair where he's losing a little bit, but it kind of puffs up on the outside. So
he's
he looks
got a real Roger Clonks going on.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's just because it does that poofy goofiness.
So there's this upstart kid, Tommy Keating, down at Sharky's, and he's saying, verbatim, according to Mark, he's saying he's much cooler and tougher than Jake.
Probably is twice his age. I mean, I'm sure he's a lot tougher.
He's seen a hell of a lot more.
He's learned some things.
He's smoked a lot more packs of cigarettes.
He's also sleeveless, or wearing like a cut-off sleeveless thing. And has it's the reason I don't wear sleeveless shirts. I have no muscle tone.
What are you talking about? What do you mean? Tommy was jacked. Jake's not worried about Tommy is the thing. He hasn't met him yet.
Oh, shouldn't he be?
He's not worried about him at all. He says Tommy's just trying to knock his rep to get a rep. That's what he says. I say that kind of thing all the time. You guys have heard me say it.
You are very concerned with your rep.
My rep is always on display.
He's trying to ride his coattails into high school stardom, which every 40-year-old man is wont to do.
Yeah, we saw it with Gus in the last episode. We're seeing it currently with Tommy Keating. Did they call him Keating because it sounds enough like kid? Like there's a K in there that they can maybe subliminally convince us this guy's not 42.
Hello, fellow children.
I have early onset emphysema.
I'm going to take my hot pills. It's an hour before lunch.
We're about to meet Tommy because Jake's working on his bike in his garage now, not Matt's, because Matt is gone for good.
Good.
And the group's lamenting Tommy talking trash about Jake. They are actually way more upset about it at this stage than Jake is, that someone could downplay Jake's level of cool.
Yeah. It's upsetting to them.
How dare you?
Jake's just too confident to worry about that shit.
Tony, however, he's too aloof. He's still worried about safety here. There's a pile of newspapers he's worried about.
Okay, so I wrote on my notes here, legit, this is exactly what I wrote verbatim. The safety crew gag is awful. Just awful. I don't remember what it was. That's how awful it was. So what happened?
They really shoehorned it in here to where Tony freaked out about Jake's garage having a pile of newspapers on the ground and how it's a safety hazard. By the way, they're not at school.
That's
here.
it, because it was paper cuts.
Yeah, that it could. That's the joke. It's not
cuts.
that someone could trip over it. They could receive 1,000 paper cuts or something like that. Then Mark just falls on the floor for no reason whatsoever. And the whole time, I'm again thinking, this isn't at the school. This doesn't even count for their 1,000-day record.
Yeah, I think the writers are just ahead of you there. They figured out.
got it.
They figured out that
screen.
Tony is just taking this too seriously, and he's taking his work home with him. You missed it. That's
He's
okay.
taking it out on his family.
It's fine that you just don't pick up on these things.
It's
Brian.
hard to catch that. So I get it.
At this point, Jake's kind of tired of everyone talking about Tommy and how cool Tommy thinks Tommy is. And Jake dismisses Tommy, and Van, what is it that he calls him?
Nah, he's just another stupid, dorky dog face looking to knock me off my bike.
Yeah, a stupid, dorky dog face. That is refuted by the group. They're not having it, actually. Tony says, Tommy's actually smart. He passed a really hard test. Sam says he's not dorky. He looks pretty cool. And we trust Sam, right?
Absolutely.
He's no dog face.
Tip says he's not a dog face. He's hot as fuck. And that is when we hear the vroom vroom of a motorcycle, and Tommy rolls up with Sly on back. That's how Tommy got there. Sly, of course, received $10. Tommy has pulled up. He, as Spencer already pointed out, he's wearing a sleeveless denim vest with one of the two shirts that he wears in the episode with a motorcycle on them. He's got jeans. He has frizzy Roger Clontz hair from Doug. He is in awesome shape.
He does that
He's
thing.
wearing earrings.
Yes, he sure is. He does that thing that I do now because I'm a middle-aged man, that when I get up, I go, Like, he does
a
that
lot
getting
of
off
grunting.
of everything.
He does a lot of grunting. He has the hoop earrings. His paunch is just a little
Ow.
bit out over his very high up pulled pants. And again, we're supposed to believe he's not even a senior, I don't think, in high school.
He's just
at this
super
point in
cool.
time.
That's all we know.
We know he's super cool, and that does check out. I mean, there's no cooler guy than Tommy. You look into his eyes, and you just want to follow him and know that he's the toughest, he's the coolest that there is.
The toughest and coolest 17-year-old I've ever seen.
Yeah. And honestly, he and Jake have an exchange where they mutually agree to a motorcycle race, and during this, I'm looking at the two, and Jake is wearing a button-down collared shirt that just has a stripe down it, and I'm thinking again, Tommy's way cooler than Jake here.
Yeah, sure.
He's got the frizzy hair. I keep coming back to that, but it makes him look unhinged.
Well, they were also this whole time like, come on, you and me, let's have a race. We'll see who's toughest, who's coolest. And then they kept setting up rules, and they're like, well, we must drive a reasonable pace. And then, of course, the signal whenever we need to
We've
make
got to
the
wait
proper
until
turn.
safety week is over.
I do agree with Jake on one point, though, which is that, he takes kind of in his own little Macho Man world, the high road, which is like, that's not for me to worry about someone else coming at me. I'm not going to bother.
Yeah, I like that, too.
The other, Tommy is the one who's seeking all this conflict. He's doing it all. Jake
Definitely
is kind of like, it's not my problem. So that he starts off this episode on a really good footing and then loses it, as we will soon get into.
It becomes difficult, and it really is one of Jake's first tests as a character like this in the series, from my memory.
I wonder what his eventual growth is, but, that's a very different conversation.
He really fills out, I'd like to say.
How did the spinoff go starring Tommy Keene and
South Dakota Dreams?
Yeah.
It went terrifically. Nothing happens. They just kind of stare at Mount Rushmore.
Sounds good.
Okay.
That's really all that happens. I did want to tell you guys also that the actor who plays Tommy, who must be cool, Joseph D. Reitman, he later actually had a recurring role for several years in CSI. He's been in A Perfect Storm and Lady in the Water.
So
He's also married to Shannon Elizabeth.
did you have
What? Oh, whoa, back that one up.
Yes.
I don't know who that is.
What?
Shannon Elizabeth was the girl Jason Biggs wanted to have sex with in American Pie.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Like a
Okay.
model.
Okay.
I'll also mention that it was, for some reason, Jake just accepts it that Tommy needs to push back their bike race appointment so that he can terrorize the chess club.
Yeah, because he's a multi-dimensional character.
He's a multi-dimensional
He's a
bad guy bully
He's
type.
a smart bad guy. He doesn't just ride motorcycles. He also does checkmates.
And they were very, very practical about their scheduling of bullying events.
Okay, look, you guys are fucking math nerds.
Yeah,
I don't know why I'm being
yeah.
so antagonistic about it. So you can do the math here for me.
We're all California Dream buds here.
He was Joseph Reitman, who played, of course, Tommy. He was born in 1968. This episode was in 1994.
He was 26
Yeah,
years
so
old.
mid-20s. Yeah, and he did look older than that.
It was a hard
being a
mid-twenties.
young actor, I would assume he was drinking and smoking from
Probably,
the age of
yeah.
like 12 or something like that before that.
Yeah, that's
Eating a lot of those awesome California burritos.
I would have definitely bought anything around 30, so not 17, but that's okay.
We're back at PCH now. The challenge has been set between the two coolest guys at PCH and maybe in the world.
They're so cool.
Jake and Tommy. Even their names are cool. Meanwhile, Principal Blumfeld tries to organize an earthquake drill, and he gets derailed because of Tony's over-the-top concern for safety and Sly's persistent horniness. So Blumfeld declines to proceed with scheduling an earthquake drill, downgrades it to a fire drill. Again, paranoia on behalf of Tony, perversion on behalf of Sly. They are just going back and forth with either safety concerns that won't happen or scenarios that will allow Sly to put his mouth on a girl.
Right. And that cheerleader in the first drill seemed receptive at that one point.
I was
said we might have
confused
to do
by
CPR,
that.
and she kind of shrugged.
Well, I thought it was kind of weird because that was another time where I got the characters confused. I'm like, she seemed to be like, oh, he's dreamy, kind of leaning in that direction.
Yes.
But I
She
was
seemed
like, I thought this
receptive.
was our creep.
I was
And then I
also
realized.
weirded out by
I guess it works okay, though. If it's an earthquake, you can say, I can give you CPR, and they might be receptive to it.
There's your lead. If you're out there, you're trying to solicit male, female, whatever gender you prefer, you just have to find a place that has a lot of earthquakes.
somewhere where you can perform the Heimlich and then CPR,
Oh,
or as
like
Sly
a
refers
hug and
to
a
it,
kiss.
yes, a hug and a kiss. And something about it was just
Might have to have the sash, the safety sash.
the
That'll
safety
seal the
sash
deal.
seals the deal because then they know you have their best interests in mind.
Plus, they can't resist a man in a uniform.
It's like a hat that says FBI on it, and then Federal
Yes.
Booty Inspector.
Did you notice Sly also only mentions these sort of sexual liaisons with cheerleaders? He always specifically says cheerleaders, not girls.
That's his fetish. That's what
Yeah.
he
I
searches
didn't
for
notice that, but
when he gets home.
not surprising.
Sly now, 50 years old or
Mhm.
whatever he would be, I guarantee his character is at home specifically browsing for cheerleader-related pornography.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's just no way that he's not. Mark, at this point, is tired. He is tired of listening to all this. Even though he's Sly's cousin, right? He says, nothing even goes on in this school. Why do we have to have these drills? What's the point? And some strange gift from the TV heavens, a character just wearing overalls who we've never seen before, busts in the side door of the classroom to announce that Jake Summers just wrecked his bike down at Sharky's and all the students leave school.
I can't
That's how it
tell you
works.
how many times I've seen that happen in my high school career. Also, my dad used to ride motorcycles, and one time I got a text from him.
Van looked shocked.
I got a text. I just rode my bike into Sharky's. Can you come get me out? This is a common thing with motorcycles. It goes into whatever Sharky's is.
When we see Sharky's finally, the group finds Jake with his back against the counter sitting on the floor. He is
Tire tracks
And French
dazed
fries.
and devastated. French
French
fries
fries.
and hamburgers everywhere.
Ketchup on his shirt.
Ketchup on his shirt that he thinks might be blood. And that's the first crack we see on Jake's tough guy facade when he believes the ketchup might be blood and initially does panic before backing
He
down.
does, yeah.
He backs down, and then I believe it's Sly decides to say, "Nah, it's just ketchup." And
Yes.
he takes some
He eats
floor
a
French
fry
fries,
on
Yeah.
his shirt.
scrapes it off his shirt. Let's just say it wasn't ketchup. You've just devoured the blood of your
Yeah.
best friend or whatever.
And if Jake's really cool, you don't know what's in that blood. There's
Yeah.
really no way of knowing. And this is the same mouth that he's eating fry blood with that he wants to smush on cheerleaders.
See, that's how you
Maybe
spread
that's part of the
things.
appeal for the
Sly is the
cheerleaders.
villain of this show. I'm pretty convinced. Most everyone else is pretty nice and cool. So with that, let's take a break before we find out what awaits Jake and the crew next.
Let's go cruising, you and me.
The worst thing in the world that could happen to Jake right now happens, and Tommy arrives to mock him mercilessly.
Well, presumably he was at school as a 14-year-old, and
Yeah,
so he
at
was
school
also
like-
allowed out.
like a person that Tommy's definite real age would be at. So he shows up and he is having a field day with this. He makes fun of Jake. He delivers an incredible joke that Sharky's is not a drive-through, and then he laughs at his own joke. which is a real kingpin move on behalf of Tommy.
I'm glad he laughed because I didn't, so that way he did it for us.
But
you didn't
then
find that absolutely hilarious?
we find out Sharky's actually was a drive-thru.
We do, thanks to pedantic Mark, who is constantly offering information no one is asking for. It doesn't make him as bad as his cousin, pervert rapist Sly, but it doesn't make him all that likable. Although we get a glimpse into that here, as Mark just kind of drifts off talking about how the waitstaff used to wear skirts back when it was a drive-thru.
Yeah.
So honestly, maybe the Winkle family, maybe having that name did it.
Well, their psychologists, genealogists have kind of determined that some of those horrible traits can be genetic. Violence is a big one, actually. So it's entirely possible that family genetic composure.
I think we've stumbled onto something huge in California Dreams that was unspoken.
We just need to wipe them off the mat. I'm saying I'm pro eugenics, guys.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no.
Let me get that out.
But you're anti-Winkle.
I thought that, but I didn't know. So I'm glad that you clarified.
You've always given off a strong piece of shit vibe.
You often talk about destroying the lesser races.
We get back to PCH, and this is where we see Tommy in full bully regalia. He's donning denim. He hasn't graduated to the leather just yet. And he's
graduated from a couple of things, though.
He
High
has.
school, college, a couple of careers.
You're assuming he graduated.
Oh, fair enough.
He graduated the School of Cool. He walks up to Donkey Lips from Salute Your Shorts, and he says, "Hey, I want your I want your locker. You've already decorated it with Donkey Lips memorabilia."
That poor kid.
Before I forget, there's also a scene at the end, and that is Donkey Lips from Salute Your Shorts, where he's on the phone. The two main guys, Jake and Tommy, and they're having a show off, and it's the prototypical one's on the left, one's on the right, single camera pan. And in the background is Donkey Lips supposed to be making a phone call, and he does what no one making a phone call does, which is turn around and face the public and look at the camera, smile and nod. He wanted his mug on there.
He did. Donkey Lips wanted airtime, but also Donkey Lips. Let's say you're Donkey Lips.
Let's not.
You see Jake and Tommy talking, and you're not looking at those two dreamboats.
Okay.
Of course, you're going to turn around to see this showdown.
Yeah, true.
The band group, they really want someone to do something about Tommy's bullying. They think Jake will when he gets there, but Jake is still shook from his motorcycle wreck in Sharky's, and he backs down when Tommy approaches him. Tommy knows now Jake's not going to do the motorcycle race. He is the king tough guy at this point in time. So Tommy, he exits the scene with two girls.
Oh, yeah.
And he delivers this little nugget to Jake.
Hey, Summers, what are you looking at? Me? Nothing. Good. Keep it that way. Come on, girls. Let's get out of here. I'm allergic to chicken.
My favorite part is the studio audience oh shit.
I left it in there for that reason.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you did. It's just beautiful. This is also the scene, you alluded to
that
it,
would suck if you were allergic to chicken. That's
I was
like a
thinking
common
about that.
protein type.
Are we sure
So
that Tommy's
versatile.
not eating chicken? We want to make sure that fucking...
Tommy
What's
is-
the restaurant they go to? Let's make sure they don't. Let's make sure Sharky's doesn't serve Tommy any chicken.
Tommy eats only meatloaf and cans of beer when he's not putting cigarettes out on his tongue. This is also the scene, Van, where Sam mentions the Uncle Tsitsi again.
I was super pumped when I heard it. I was like, this is a recurring joke. And this is a full season from the last episode we watched. So I don't know if it's happened every episode
It's kind
since,
of
or
impressive
what.
that, if not, then the fortune we had of pulling up two different episodes from different seasons where this uncle of Sam's is mentioned, that's incredible. And this whole thing starts because Tiffany is being encouraging to her ex, Jake, because Tiffany is a good person.
Sure.
You guys.
Yeah,
She's
I agree.
very-
She's no Sam, but I agree.
Right, but she's a good person.
Yeah.
She's trying to
She means
encourage
well.
him to get back on his bike, and Sam chimes in too and says it's just like my Uncle Tsitsi says, you got to climb back on that boar.
Yeah, the wild, and then that's the joke.
That's
It's like
the
it's a
joke.
horse, and no, he's afraid of
He's
horses.
afraid of horses.
So he rides
So
Wild boars. It's
So-
a wild boar.
The only
Maybe Javelina.
only one who can compete with Tommy Keating as far as who's super cool is Uncle Tsitsi in my mind.
Yeah,
Tsitsi.
I have him built up as the person to strive to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
He plays rock music. He's really cool. He rides a
boars.
wild boar.
Yeah.
It's about the coolest thing you can do. The coolest thing you can also do when life's got you down is to get back up on that board and go ride your bike at Sharky's. The problem is Jake wipes out again in the same position. He's got fries everywhere. And we find out, I neglected to mention this before, the reason he wiped out is because Tony put a speed bump in for safety week.
Mm-hmm.
And this time Tony made it bigger. He didn't know Jake was going to ride out there again.
Plus there were some dead customers at Sharky's. That was a shame.
Yeah, Jake ran him over, and that's after they got in a car accident.
I don't know that Tony really knows how to pour concrete. Or do you think he made just the most perfect speed bump?
We don't know. Orphans have to learn a lot of things that those of us with parents
It
don't.
seems like that must have been a really, really impressive speed bump. So I'm going to question his concrete ability.
Yeah, I think he made like a 4-foot speed bump.
I bet it was a
just
wall,
runs
a barrier.
into.
It was just a straight wall.
Everyone at this point is very concerned Jake's not going to go back to being normal Jake. This has him really shaken up to the point where he leaves his bike and says he'll just send his mom to come pick up the bike later. So Jake's got a mom, probably a tattoo that is a heart that says mom with an arrow through it or something too on his bicep. We don't know. We haven't seen Jake in Tommy's wardrobe. Lorena says at this point, I still think it's fine. Cut to the next day, we're seeing Principal Blumfeld making Jake the captain of the safety team, the nerdiest thing you can do, and kicking out Sly, the most legally and morally responsible thing you could do.
Yeah.
So that he can quit perving on the cheerleader squad.
Now, we all know that if there was anyone here who would volunteer for the safety squad, it'd be Brian, because he's a nerd, right?
Probably.
This is the thing I want to start.
At one point in my life, yeah, for sure. Like, I'd be on the safety squad.
See, you are the safety squad.
Especially if I thought I'd get some sort of, like, credit or something.
Or,
like,
access to a cheerleader that you could rape.
Right, what everybody's always wanted.
You've always wanted.
Yeah, man, if I could just get my own cheerleader and sash. So Principal Blumfeld's made Jake captain of the safety team. He's kicked out Sly. Sly's upset about this because he still wants to do horrible things to the cheerleader on rollerblades or roller skates. Lorena is bemoaning what's happened to Jake. She wants the old Jake back. And right now, Tommy waltzes up and he starts mocking Jake again and makes things even worse.
Man, you're a disgrace to the word cool. You know what I think? I think you don't deserve to wear this leather jacket. Hand it over.
Can you believe it? Tommy asked for Jake's leather jacket.
I was blown away.
Tiffany is quick to tell us there are 3 things.
Oh my god, I love this line.
That you do not
it hasn't aged well.
do at all. You do not. 1. Article 1. Bet against George Foreman.
Or any of his subsequent
children. It would have made a lot of
George.
sense at that time.
They're lean, they're mean, they're fat, girl.
Because he was already 50 and like winning titles again.
Yes.
So.
Number 2. Go boogie, boogie, boogie to a pit bull.
Which I don't think is that dangerous.
I've known several pit bulls, and I'm certainly I've made boogie 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 noises.
I believe that you have. I do believe that.
And your throat's never been ripped out once.
No,
There's a third thing you don't do, and that's take leather from Jake Summers. The thing is, Jake just acquiesces. He gives the jacket to
It's
Tommy.
not worth having a fight over.
That's what he says, and I honestly
I
think
agree
Jake's
with him.
maturing into an adult here.
Yeah.
He makes a lot.
But no,
of
it's
good
because
sense.
he's a weak pussy who's had trauma in his life. You know, that's what's going on. So,
Exactly, and Tommy's had trauma too, and he's funneled it all into being an asshole.
Well,
and
he's old enough to where he's worked through it in his own way.
in his own way, yeah. And people don't know that he also has a soft center underneath it all.
Before you go on to the next part here, I have got to ask. I wanted to make this a whole segment. Do you guys think you could pull off a leather jacket?
Nope.
Let's see here. No, not at all. What about you?
No, I don't even think I don't go beyond hoodie. I don't even like a coat. Like I feel very uncomfortable in most outerwear.
I have a jacket that I got from my late grandpa. That is it's like a beige jacket with a flannel inside, and it is from the 1960s. It has like the date stitched into it and my grandpa's initials, and it's really cool. It's the dorkiest thing that makes me look like I teach English at Missouri State or something, but like I make that amount of money too.
Yeah.
And I love it, and it fits me okay because it looks like something someone almost 40 years old who's a complete total nerd and always has been would wear. Leather, on the other hand, says that you're really, really cool and you step to Jake Summers.
I don't think you can wear a leather jacket and have a gut. And
so
that disqualifies me immediately.
That's
Tommy's
my next
about to push
question,
that
though.
boundary.
My next question is like, who is a person who can pull off leather. Has it even aged to the point where it's still a common thing that anyone can wear?
I'll give you two. The main one is, of course, James Dean, right? Everyone knows James Dean.
Okay, but are you wanting, Spencer, a currently living
Contemporary,
person?
yeah.
This eliminates my second one, because I was going to say...
You just have dead people.
You're going to say George Washington.
I was going to say David Carradine in those movies where...
That is recent enough.
He's a cyborg cop, or he has like a fist that can fly
There could be
off.
a whole segment on this. Like, what do you think about Leonardo DiCaprio and the
He
leather
could wear
jacket?
a leather jacket.
Okay, that's a good question. Okay, so in that
I
context...
don't think he could.
I don't think he could. He's too little.
I'll tell
can't
you
be
what.
little when
He
you can't
doesn't
do it.
have the frame.
A few years ago, Van and I attended a little bit of a talk held by star of The Room and disaster artist author
Greg
Sestero.
Oh, a TED Talk.
He wore a leather jacket. I thought he looked rather nice.
If you're handsome like that, I think
I think we just got to the bottom of it. You have to be attractive.
Handsome.
Attractive and not wide. Because Leonardo DiCaprio, as he's aged, does look more like a potato.
A little bit, yeah. No wonder that bear wanted to eat him.
So I have one more I
He's
have to
just
throw out
puffy
there.
or something. He's not out of shape, I don't think.
No, I think he is. I think
Maybe
he
he
brags
is.
about not exercising. To
Kurt
the
Well,
Russell.
see him in this H.H. Holmes. Oh,
Kurt
yeah.
Russell at any age can wear a leather
What
jacket.
about?
Luke.
Okay.
I have a weird one for you guys.
John
Bad
Candy.
Brad Cooper.
Yeah, he could wear a leather
I think he
jacket.
could. He's
Also,
handsome
John
enough to.
Hamm could.
Oh, John Hamm
yeah.
could do
He
it,
could definitely do it.
Yeah, he could do anything he wanted.
Well,
I
in
think,
case
as
you
well.
guys were wondering who could wear a leather jacket, you have all the answers you need now.
This is the kind of quality content you get just smack dab in the middle of a cool guy episode of Boob Tube Boys. But there's some stuff that's not cool going on here. Jake doesn't feel very good about himself anymore, and he's just been called, a disgrace to the word cool, he's just been called Jake the Fake. That's a really difficult thing to be called by someone. Back at the PCH classroom, the only one we see, Tommy,
It's a one-room schoolhouse
be.
in 1994.
It could be one of those.
we see Tommy sidling up to Lorena as she sits at her desk, refers to Jake as a weenie, and then asks Lorena to take a ride on his bike up to Paradise Cove after school. And we all know what that probably means.
Oh man, is that like Lover's
Kissing and
Lane?
hugging.
You get some spoons that say Paradise Cove on it, and you put them in your collection.
And they're really good decorators.
I think it's a lot like Lover's Lane, Pleasantville.
I definitely
Same
think
reference.
it's that kind of thing, like a Lover's Lane type thing, or there's one in Happy
where we go
Days.
to fuck.
Also, I can't
Oh.
think of the name of it.
Did they fuck in Happy Days?
Bone Hill.
I don't believe so. We're gonna roll with Silent Hill. No, Bone.
Bone Hill sounds either pretty awesome or the worst place to imagine.
Yeah,
It's
or if
probably
you're
something
Tommy,
really
awesome
cheesy
either
for
way.
Happy Days, like Makeout Avenue,
Make out
something
point.
really
It might
stupid.
actually be something point. Something Inspiration Point is absolutely what it's
How
called.
did you guys manage to wander yourselves into that?
I have no
don't
idea.
know.
I didn't watch any Happy Days,
I
so I
didn't
wouldn't
I'm
know.
really glad that you guys were able to help get me there.
Okay, I don't buy the Fonz wearing the leather jacket. Henry Winkler's too little. He was kind of cool.
And too nice.
And too nice.
And now that we know who he is now.
He did have the swag, though, so I guess that's part of it. I don't know.
He punched that jukebox.
I guess I'll have to watch Happy Days now to see if he deserved it.
We'll actually be talking a little bit about Henry Winkler later on in the
Oh,
show.
good. I was
Also,
hoping that.
I thought you both had that secret hope in your hearts.
I always hope to talk about it.
Perhaps inspired by the Fonz, Jake snaps into action when he sees Tommy trying to hit on Lorena. This is it. And he utters, "No one messes with Jake Summers' girl." Lorena's into it, though. Maybe it's some sort of play I have. And they start making out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at this point, Jake pulls her up close to his body. They make out. The old Jake Summers has been revived by Lorena's lips.
I don't like that. That's what revived him either. I don't
No.
think that. Why would that be the thing?
Because in Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me,
I like where
he
this
got
is
his
going.
mojo back. And that's how he managed to defeat Goldmember. I'm boring
Goldmember,
And in
yeah, I
this
think
scenario,
that's-
Tommy is gold member.
Sure. He's Dutch, for one. We know that. He's got
It's
those
an
wooden
odd thing.
shoes.
It's an odd thing to get his power back.
He did get his power back, though. You can't deny it. And he turns that power to Tommy's face, and he challenges him to once and for all have this bike race at Sharky's. But that's not all he says to Tommy, is it?
You're toast.
Ooh, I'm scared. What's the big chicken gonna do? Kiss me? Yeah, I'm gonna kiss you goodbye, you dillweed.
Yeah! That made you guys, like, pump your fists in the air when you saw it, right?
I laughed
Yeah.
really hard when I
Jake
heard
calling Tommy a dillweed. I honestly didn't
That was
expect
It's a
it.
great put down at that time period.
I do remember people calling each other dillweed when I was in elementary school. which is
Happened
when
a
this
lot
took
in
place.
Beavis and Butthead. You guys might not
Yeah,
know that
that's
show as
fair.
well as I do. but
I
it did
don't
happen.
actually, but I now understand over time. I obviously have seen episodes.
Sure.
And I now understand the genesis of
No,
a lot
I'm a
of things
connoisseur.
people... a lot of the things people were saying in elementary school to me that I didn't understand were from Beavis and Butthead.
That's
So
probably true, yeah.
I'm glad to finally know that.
Well, we were watching this, and when that all happened, just seconds before he said dillweed, before we could laugh about it, my girlfriend Katie was like, "Are these two gonna kiss?"
Wow, that would have been amazing if it took that turn.
Because they were legit like, "What, are you gonna kiss me?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna kiss you. I'm gonna kiss you deep. I'm gonna hold you so tight. It's not gay or nothing. It's just sometimes you want to feel secure, and when you're deep within the embrace of a friend, someone that you trust and love, then it's dillweed."
Sometimes the mental connection just becomes physical. Okay, Summers, I like a little bit of tongue and no teeth. So these two tough guys and secret lovers agree that they're going to meet at Sharky's to do this race, but only after 2 o'clock once safety week is officially concluded.
Right. Yeah. I guess that was the compromise for Jake. Right.
Yes.
He was saying,
I'm still going to be
not
a good guy.
Right.
But
I'm not going to go
race.
all the way back on this, but I am going to shut you up, and we're going to do it after safety weekends, and we get in the Guggenheim Book of Records or whatever it is.
Jake doesn't wait all the way till 2. He leaves right before Principal Blumfeld is about to get his picture taken with the Guggenheim Book of World Records banner. And he has Tony in the picture with him, because Tony, of course, is doing this all for that immortalization.
Yeah.
Tony's wearing his sash and his helmet. Jake's not, though. He turns his sash and helmet in and says, I got somewhere to be. I am done with this shit now that I'm cool again. And I'm a little bit of a refined cool now. He knows to fulfill his responsibility still and go about things the smart way, not necessarily as hot-headed. Look where that got 49-year-old Tommy. He's 49 having bike races down at Sharky's. Blumfeld is upset about this. He really wanted everybody to be around, and they're not, because everyone went, again, they just left school to go watch this motorcycle race, including the Guggenheim photographer who wants to break into action photography and film the Jake and Tommy race, and again, get those hot bods on film.
I just wrote down on my list, what is with this fucking photographer?
I don't know. Do you think he was actually the photographer, or he
could have been a Gus situation where he wasn't really what he was posing as?
He wandered in some sort of voyeur type, and once Principal Blumfeld says, "Hey, are you the photographer?" he just goes with it.
Yeah.
And he always carries his camera. It's one of his only
and
possessions.
That's why there's a whole scene of him in his underwear playing poker with the kids at the end of this episode.
That's like the after credits Marvel sequence with Samuel L. Jackson.
It was pretty hot, I think.
But it's Gus and this photographer just playing poker in their boxers together. It's getting awful hot in here, isn't it, photographer?
I mean, you can take off your shirt if you want. It's not going to bother me none.
Are they going to kiss?
They might.
See, there's a lot of homoeroticism I didn't notice as a child watching this.
California, it's open.
We talked last episode that this show was progressive in its casting. Yeah. They don't, however, quite go that far, though. So this is a big bummer for Blumfeld. He trips, wraps himself up in the banner, and bites his tongue, which I guess constitutes an accident that breaks the streak because
there was blood.
There was blood.
What he said. I didn't see any blood. I think
Sly.
You're like, I demand. Get that camera right
close,
up in there.
Yeah. He was holding his tongue, talking like.
Blumfeld offers us the exposition out loud to no one. Yes, I will take this to my grave. There's been no accident. Unfortunately, Sly is creeping like he always does.
Yeah, as he does. He was just waiting there.
And he takes a quick Polaroid snap.
I was looking for naked cheerleaders, but now I've caught you in the act.
Yeah, that's essentially what happens. And when Blumfeld won't bribe him, he takes off with the camera. We assume to make sure that the school does not get that record. That's a real bummer. That's a loose thread the series never manages to tie up, though.
Yeah.
Well, it's just amateur hour, man.
I know.
Really
they did,
that
they did have the Tsitsi call back, though, and we'll give them a little bit of credit for that. Back at Sharky's, we're getting ready for the big showdown between Jake and Tommy. My palms were sweaty. I don't know about you guys.
What about were your knees really weak?
They were knocking and they were weak. I was sitting on the edge of my seat.
Spencer, do you need any mom spaghetti, perhaps?
No, actually, I didn't really feel that when I was watching it. Like I'm thinking you guys felt something I didn't. That's okay. That's okay. We all feel differently.
And I might be wrong here, but the big thing, the turn, the race, all that they're going to do is called
Cool Man's Curve.
Sort of. Yeah. So Jake approaches Tommy at his table. Tommy's sitting down with his girlfriend or a girl. And he ups the stakes. This isn't going to be just any sort of bike race. They're going to race, and I'm quoting Jake, Coolman's Curve.
Coolman.
Because he pronounces it Coolman for some reason or another. It's later
because
pronounced
Mr. John Coolman,
Yeah.
who actually took the curve quite easily.
I would actually like to see this curve. It sounds like most people die on it. Like, just,
Yeah.
What a dangerous road.
Tony and Sam describe it that way, that's for sure. It's a certain death proposition to be driving on Coolman's, or Coolman's, as Jake would say, curve.
It must be just a total circle. Like,
And
it's
this
just a cul-de-sac.
Yeah, like the make-out point thing, the inspiration point thing. This is another coded situation for a dead man's curve.
Sure.
The old tragedy of motorcycle and car racing from the 50s, that sort of thing. That sort of aura is what they're trying to invoke.
You say
with this scene.
50s, but we now have, 12 Fast and Furious movies?
Yeah.
I mean, that's still kind of around.
Oh, no, it doesn't die. It just was born at a time, and
Sure.
it probably before that
With
even.
your hero, James Dean.
Yeah.
That's right. I've
Who
talked
can
so much about
definitely
him.
wear a James...
He can pull off leather.
Not anymore.
James Dean does his leather better than anyone.
Yeah, and he made those breakfast sausages, Jimmy Dean's breakfast sausages.
Those are so good. Not really.
I like him.
Well, they're fine.
We can tell, by the way.
We're going to get a fight over Jimmy Dean sausages.
I'm not saying I would...
Why are you tearing off your shirt in rage at me?
Oh, he's hulking out.
I would rather just, formulate my own sausage with my own ground meat that I,
Sure.
get
There's
from my
a
pet
lot
pig.
to that.
There's a whole process, but I'm just saying, there's nothing wrong with processed breakfast foods. We
You
should all
also-
be getting a healthy breakfast in the morning.
So you're saying eating them is not akin to trying to tackle Cool Man's Curve?
No, I wouldn't say that.
I don't know why Cool Man's Curve is that intimidating. I feel like it's not that big of a deal.
We're never going to know because Jake
don't go.
tells Lorena, hey, look, I got this. Don't worry. She's starting to fret, thinking he's really going to try
He
to
knows
pull
what
off
he
Cool
knows what
Man's
he's
Curve.
doing.
He knows what he's doing. As I said, this is a wiser Jake that emerged from two Sharkies bicycle wipeouts and a leather jacket confrontation, and also having his girl hit on by Tommy Pickles or whatever.
Mostly, by the way, the getting his girlfriend hit on was more traumatic than his
Than
two
anything
bicycle
else.
wrecks
Yeah, he
that
didn't really care
killed
about those.
multiple students.
Yeah, and he
could have
forced
killed
his
him.
mom to come get the
He has a
bike.
couple concussions. So it's like, whatever, you just don't hit on my girl, who was, by the way, a different one from the first season.
I just kind of rotate around the cast, but yeah, never Sam. It's a shame. They might have made an interesting couple. Tommy won't know either because he'll never be in the show again. He's having this conversation with Jake about doing Cool Man's Curve, but Jake is making it sound really scary. Tommy eventually says, look, he tries to get out of it saying he doesn't want to waste the gas in case Jake chickens out.
Uh-huh.
You'd think this was Back to the Future as much as people are being called a chicken and it matters a lot.
I was going to say, don't forget he is allergic to chicken, so that's just
Oh.
the thing. That's a
Oh, that's
legitimate
right.
concern he's having.
He should have
That's
known
all.
Jake wasn't chicken as they were, again, face to face.
Oh, there's a lot of sexual tension
Yeah.
right here.
There really is. The frizzy hair might touch the greased back hair.
Ooh.
Ugh, gross.
Do you guys think that the drapes match the curtains in that sense? That Jake puts greaser gel in his pubes and that Tommy's are frizzy?
I would rather not think about that if that's okay with you.
Well, that's okay. We won't
No,
have
I'm going
to.
to take the next 10 minutes, and I'm going to think deeply about this and
You guys
give you
are
my
going to have
response.
California dreams about it later is what I think.
Oh, no.
California
So
dreaming on a
stalking
summer's
situation
day.
here.
Yeah.
Well, Tommy's done with this at this point. He leaves. He gives the leather jacket back. He's done with all this, and he goes home because he's got to watch Blossom.
Was that,
And he never
was that
misses
a plug? Was that a plug or?
I seriously did wonder, were they only allowed, was Blossom an NBC property?
I have no idea.
And if so, that might have been a tie-in thing where this...
I was wondering that. I
Yeah.
thought maybe they could get some sort of revenue
That's a really
from that.
interesting question. I wouldn't think they'd also want shows from other networks mentioned, because that's free promotion.
Yeah, why would you do that?
It
And
has to
everybody's
have been
watching
on-
California Dreams. You don't want that free promotion.
And also, that's a strange show to drop and very time sensitive. Like, there's nobody talking about Blossom now.
No.
It was aired on NBC, so
Okay.
Yeah.
it was a partner.
Yeah, so
it
they
was
were just trying to be like,
promoting their
Blossom's
own
on
show.
next.
And you say, like, it didn't age well, et cetera, et cetera. At the time, they're like, look, we're hanging our hopes on Blossom. This
Yeah.
is going all the way. This is going to pull a Cheers or a Simpsons and be around for 30 years.
Well, this episode...
30 years of Blossom.
Well,
I
what's
think
her name
she's
still
blossomed
acting?
by then. Like,
been blossoming this whole time.
6 dies somewhere around season 18.
Once 6 is 24.
I wish
6
that
dies.
I wish they would do that with actual actors. Like, you can't have a TV show that runs that long.
No, it'd be like
Simpsons
Boyhood,
does.
the TV
That would-
show.
Yes, exactly that concept. That would be amazing.
This is the end of this episode. Jake goes out to the Sharkies parking lot to try and beat the stupid speed bump, which we hope Tony hasn't made bigger. And then we get the end credits. That's it. And the cool off was won by Jake Summers defeating Tommy Keating in the episode Rebel Without a Nerve. What did you guys think of this episode of California Dreams?
I'm gonna jump in here rudely, might I say, because I saw Van's face and he looked like he wanted to talk, but I've got to get this in. I was sad personally because I felt such a connection with Sam as a character in the first episode. They didn't really focus on her at all in this one so much. So I missed her, and I thought that as much as I enjoyed getting to know this side of Jake and his trauma that he was going through, I missed Sam. And all Sam did in this episode is, but Jake, you're cool. You can do it. You can just punch him in the face. Just
she
punch
is trying to build Jake up.
Yeah, with kind of misguided attentions. I didn't like her as much in this episode, and I missed that sweet side of Sam we got to see in the first episode we talked about.
There are a few notes I have on what happened to the cast. I wanted to let you guys know so we could send these lovely characters off.
Yeah, because we're not going to get to talk about California Dreams ever again.
No, unless there's a clamoring for more, and then we'll have to listen to the people.
If they say that,
I'm going to stuff the ballot box.
If they say that, I'm out. Like, if we want to, we can't be the type of podcast that lets the listeners tell us to watch California Dreams.
There is no podcast that is that type of podcast.
You never know.
Serial.
You never know.
This might be the they do that on Serial all the time. Can you find
what about
who
Don
really
Pierce?
murdered this girl?
Don Pierce might she might find
absolutely.
us.
Later on, we're going to revisit Don Pierce and Don Pierce's experience.
All right,
with
never mind.
California Dreams.
I'm in. I decided I like this idea.
Some of the cast members did have a little bit of success. Jenny Kwan was in 90210. In an episode at least, and also made an appearance in Family Matters and an appearance in The Nanny.
And then she took like a career break to sing.
Yes.
But when she came back, she still acted. I think she was in that Airbender Avatar show.
I think she may have been. I believe I read that.
That's cool. Good job.
I was
Sam.
happy to see that. Heidi Linhart, who played Jenny in the first season, and you guys never even saw, also appeared in Beverly Hills 90210.
Oh.
The most notable cast member by far in terms of their career
was the guy who played Tommy.
Is the guy who played Tommy, based on what we discussed earlier.
True.
Being a CSI regular, being in some real films, marrying Shannon Elizabeth.
Yeah, that's a big one.
He's kind of amazing.
That's the thing that sealed the deal for you.
Kelly Packard, though, who played Tiffany, was a regular and eventually a series regular on Baywatch. Packard also appeared in The Wonder Years, Blossom, Step by Step, and Boy Meets World.
There's a Blossom tie-in?
Yes, another Blossom tie-in. But being a Baywatch cast regular for years is definitely the most prominent thing I'd say anyone from California Dreams did.
Huh. Why are you shaking your head like that? What do you have against Tiffany?
Brian's over here. Well, the most important person from this show is Kelly Frakes, or whatever her name is. Here's
Kelly
the thing.
Packard.
What
Kelly
you
Clarkson.
didn't realize is that the principal, whose name I did not bother writing down,
Excellent.
has acted in a bunch of things, and most notably to me was the voice of Sergei Gerlokovich in Metal Gear Solid 2.
Oh.
Was he
whose
really?
daughter, Olga, then becomes the stand-in for Gray Fox from the original Metal Gear Solid. Because, of course, Metal Gear Solid 2 is the SSS, the Solid Snake Simulation Program, where they're putting Raiden in place, saying that they can make a Solid Snake. You don't have to be born with the genetics of a Solid Snake. But, of course, it's all disproved because it's not really the SSS. Oh, sorry. Are we talking about something else?
I think we were talking about, was it California Dreams?
Maybe. But anyway, yeah, the principal's voices a bunch of video games, too.
I'd like to
And he
put it
also
out there.
was a prominent character
I'm not
actor.
really a fan of wrestling or Metal Gear Solid, so
You're
We got that on the record as well. No wrestling, no Snake Plissken for Spencer Pliskin. No, it's Hendrix. It's not Pliskin.
No.
See, in Metal Gear Solid 2, he actually, when you're playing as Raiden, you meet Solid Snake, but he calls himself Lieutenant J.G. Pliskin, and it's a nod to
Really?
Snake Plissken.
That's
from,
interesting.
Yeah.
From L.A.
Which is really
I like
cool.
these tie-ins.
I have those soundtracks to this day, as you know, Van. I've
And-
talked about them too many times.
And Kurt Russell looks great in a leather jacket.
He really
Yeah,
does.
I don't buy it.
Sunglasses.
Well, you'll have to prove it to me
You're
later.
wrong.
I'll have to see some photo evidence.
Spencer's just over here like, whatever the worst opinion I can take. I'm going to go with that.
I'm just not sold. Now, Kate Hudson in a leather jacket, she could pull it off.
Orlando
Have
Hudson.
you ever worn any of her fabletics? Have you ever worn any of her women's clothing?
Didn't know that was a thing. I'm not opposed to it. Let's put that out there.
Maybe
wants to send me
they'll
something.
sponsor us. Do you guys know Kate Hutton's number? Let's reach out.
I think I
we'll-
have it on. Yeah, it's probably in my Google account.
It might maybe one of your old phones. that you
Yeah,
haven't
one of my
kept.
old phones. This show also had a couple of guest stars who went on to some level of fame. The first, Tara Reid, who was an actress in a lot of things after this in the
Sharknado.
90s. Sharknado, also
Tara
The
Reid
Big
sounds-
Lebowski,
It sounds familiar, yeah, that name.
and Fergie from the Black
Wait,
Eyed Peas.
Fergie was
yes,
in this?
Fergie appeared in some episodes, or one episode of California Dreams.
Was she a singer at this point, or was she an
I
actress?
think
or what?
she was a singer, but like not really. She wasn't
Big or whatever.
Not
Okay.
at all. No. So the show overall, it is what it is. It's a heartwarming kid show that never takes it too far, but sometimes is really cool. And that was what happened in this episode, where two bad boys went at one another.
Yeah.
Speaking of bad boys, I'd like to talk a little bit more about bad boys in a new segment called At the End of Our Trope. In this segment, I figured we could talk about TV tropes, where we've seen tropes before, where we've seen them used well or poorly, things like that. So, yeah, we can talk about the Fonz now. You guys said he couldn't pull off a leather jacket.
I just think Henry.
I would buy it.
If you're 5'3", you can't wear a leather jacket. I'm
How
sorry.
tall is Henry Winkler?
He's not big. I'll look it up.
I don't-
He's probably
He's
like
not big.
5'6".
I've seen him next to Bill Hader, and Bill Hader's far larger than he is. And Bill Hader isn't huge.
I love
He's
Bill
like
Hader.
6'1",
He's
though.
great.
He's tall. And I don't think Bill Hader could pull off a leather jacket.
No.
and he's tall.
No, Ben Hader's awesome for a lot of reasons, but wearing a leather jacket or being capable of one is not.
He sure
one.
is great in that Barry. And also a movie called The Skeleton Twins that I saw that he's also very good
I
at.
watched most of that movie.
5'6" is
I
how
figured
tall Henry
5'6".
Winkler is.
Okay. Yeah, that seems...
I probably looked it up before is why I knew that, to be honest. I'm not going to actually act like I just had a sense of how tall he was.
Do you guys have favorite bad boy characters from TV shows that you've seen? Or ones that even stick out even if you don't like them?
That is tough. That's really a sitcom thing.
It really is.
And I really don't have that much sitcom experience to draw upon.
There are some that I
Yeah, if
took
you
the
have some
liberty of making a
suggestions,
list
I
of.
would love
that I want to talk
I would
about.
love to weigh in on those.
Mark from Roseanne being one that I thought of. Sort of a different type of bad boy who's just kind of...
He's just a drunk, like an abusive
just a
drunk,
trash
right?
bag who
Yeah.
like kind of abducts Becky
Is that-
and
Yeah.
the family's worried about
Oh,
her.
okay. I was thinking that was like the Jackie's boyfriend or whatever.
No, not the guy from The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, they brought some real stuff in Roseanne. Serious shit.
They
I
did,
remember,
yeah.
it got pretty
It was a big
serious.
deal.
Yeah,
at
and I
some
feel
point.
like they handled it with aplomb.
Do you mean like the time that in Roseanne, Jackie fell in love with the prince for some island,
No.
and he was royalty?
I remember this.
And he was played by Jim Varney,
Yes.
also known as Ernest P. Worrell.
I'm pretty sure I'm getting gaslighted right now.
Nope, it's real.
This was Ernest Goes Wealthy. Guest starring Jackie from Roseanne. I cannot think of the actress.
She's
name.
awesome.
Yeah, that's a
She
tough,
is
that's a
great.
tough
Awesome.
name to pull.
Lady Bird, amazing movie.
Yeah, that movie is really great and also takes place when we would have all graduated high school, roughly. I found it very touching. It's a good, really good one. Another one that I have down here that's a little less conventional is Trent from Daria, who's an animated character.
Oh,
He's more of the slacker bad boy, though, which is a
Right.
different kind
Yeah,
of kind of
yeah.
I don't really care about anything. I'm not going to be confrontational, but I don't care.
Yeah.
yeah.
That type of bad boy.
I actually didn't finish Daria, but I never watched it at all because I didn't watch those kind of shows that were on during that time period like you guys did. But I watched it on Hulu about 5 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And I got like 2 seasons in, I want to say, and I really enjoyed it. But I remember the character you're talking about, and that is definitely a different brand of bad boy.
Yes.
Like
And I have some different flavors of bad boy
Yeah.
here. Again, not
That's
as cool
fair,
as
yeah.
Jake, not as cool as Tommy. However, someone closer to the age of Tommy, who was definitely thought of as a TV bad boy with his dashing southern accent and his blonde, rugged good looks. Sawyer from Lost is a character I have down as a bad boy. Van is shaking his head.
Again.
And
Hate
I
Sawyer.
would like to hear your
Shaking
thoughts
his head all
on the
night
character
here.
of Sawyer.
The problem with the character Sawyer was he was presented early on as that bad boy character.
Yes.
But he also, for years, was presented as irredeemable. he did the worst things.
For several seasons of the show, he would sell
Long
them
time.
out. He would do anything for his own good.
Then the last 2 seasons...
Did he have a heart of gold in the end?
Well, people started
Pretty
to
much.
dislike Jack. And Jack was the main protagonist, I guess you would say, the hero. And I don't know if it was the plan all along. I don't know, it's J.J. Abrams. I think he just makes it up as he goes along.
It is fun.
But yes, no, he was redeemed. He was the good guy. It turns out he had the heart of gold, and he was one of the most important people in the whole spectrum of the whole thing. And I hated it. I thought the transition was bad. Now, that said, I would actually love to rewatch Lost to see if that was just younger me not quite getting the subtle clues along the way, or if it really is like I think, which is that he was just supposed to be awful for so long, and then, boom, you're supposed to love him. And I thought it was bad.
Didn't watch it as young. I watched it a few years after you, and I came away kind of with the same opinion that Sawyer, either the audience liked him or responded to him, and the show just decided to re-characterize him.
I think that's what it is.
Sounds like a
40%.
poorly formed character.
Yeah.
And I haven't watched any.
And he was a good dastardly villain type.
If they would have
early
kept him what they
Yeah.
made him out to be, he could have been phenomenal.
He
Could have
worked
been a great
well
I think
for the
character.
that
show
thing
that
happens a lot with TV shows is they write a character who's supposed to be unlikable and everyone loves them, so then they
Yes.
feel
They
like they
switch
have to make him likable, and that does seem to take place sometimes, and I bet that's what that was.
But that is a
Another-
great bad boy suggestion. I like that.
Yeah, I was trying to think of ones that are a little
Well, why
unusual.
didn't you mention Bart Simpson? He's a bad boy.
He is the rudest of bad boys. So is Raphael from the Ninja Turtles. The bad boy of the sewer. What about Jess from Gilmore Girls?
Oh yeah, that's an interesting thing.
Van
No,
threw his hands
I
up.
would love
Spencer
to.
is engaged.
I
He's
would love
activated.
to. I would love to weigh in on this.
Yes,
I
I tried to get something for each of you a little bit.
Yeah, you
here.
did a good
You're
job.
like, I'll get lost in Gilmore Girls in there and
You
we're
did a
set.
good job. I think, and I hope that all the YouTube commenters that are coming into this episode are also on the Gilmore Girls YouTube videos and can weigh in on this too. But I never actually bought the Just Bad Boy act. I continually felt
Yeah, I read too many books.
he was he's so
Bad boys don't
intellectual,
read.
and I felt like Dean was a more kind person. And I know everyone hates Dean, but I always liked Dean more and didn't really get the appeal of Jess.
Well, eventually he becomes an independent author.
So who's the bad boy, Jess?
Milo Ventimiglia. You
I'll
might
stick
know
with
him.
Jess.
You might know him from that superhero show that was short-lived called Heroes. I was trying to think of the name and realized it just was Heroes. Or I believe he is prominently in the show This Is Us currently.
Oh,
Didn't watch either of
man.
those.
I just want, you might have seen, you've seen the guy almost.
Yeah, I
certainly.
probably have.
Handsome guy.
So here's the thing. So Jess
Very
is the
small.
bad guy. That's who you're debating whether or not he's fits
What
this
kind of
mold.
bad boy he is. He is a type of bad boy.
Yeah, because it's
He's
Gilmore
rebellious.
Girls,
He's
and the
rebellious.
bad boy is he didn't tip when he paid for his tea at the local
Well, to be
coffee
fair,
store.
Gilmore Girls, some stuff goes down later.
Okay.
Shit gets real. Yeah, Logan stabs a guy
Just
at a
wait-
wedding with a
just
Probably
wait.
deserved it.
No,
Just
not
wait
really.
just wait until we put that in one of these seasons.
That's a
can't
Brian
wait.
show. That is absolutely a Brian will choose.
I can't wait. It'll sneak
that
up
will
years
be
down the road.
fantastic. Yeah, I can't wait for that either.
This will be like when Justin made me watch Hitch for a podcast we did.
Me as well.
And I spent 15 years of my
I
life
watched that
avoiding
on my
Hitch.
own, and I hated every second.
It
I
was
was
so bad.
forced to watch it due to a relationship
I-
I was in at the time.
I unfortunately tried to do it with China King, which is a delicious meal.
So
I
you
was like,
ruined
ruined
China
China
King.
King.
for
I
Hitch.
did ruin it. I thought, like, well, let's just go. I had some weird subscription to some strange. This is again,
Sure.
this is like 2005. Netflix wasn't a thing back then, so I had some weird online movie subscription, and I would sit at my computer.
Hitch flicks.
This was at the Village Terrace house that we all lived at
Yeah,
together, and it was like 9:00 at night. I watched Sin City the previous night, and that's where I learned that "got him but good" is an actual expression.
Which
Man,
is still a
Bone
thing
Fisher.
I quote about you all
I
the
do
time.
too. I still remember that exact.
It was maybe
argument
the
three of
next
us
day I watched Hitch. I was like, let's try this thing. Let's see what it's gonna. I'm gonna eat my whole thing of China King, and man, was I disappointed. Hitch is not a good.
Not
movie.
a good pairing.
I can tell you exactly what the three of us were doing. Spencer's in his room watching Hitch. I'm in my room pitching his Bartolo Colon on MLB The Show. And Brian is in his room doing what Brian does.
Yep,
Being a
doing Brian
nerd.
stuff.
Total
Being a-
nerd.
Being a big nerd, I was probably putting
You were
my
probably practicing your
CDs in
guitar.
alphabetical order,
Or that,
or
yeah.
playing guitar, or perhaps playing Out of the Park baseball simulator that Spencer and I still play to this day.
We were college-age kids, by the way.
This is early
what
20s.
we
Now
were doing.
We've obviously evolved quite a bit since then.
Yeah, we do
It's
real
in the
adult
last
stuff
15
now.
years.
Talking about California Dreams. Now we're about the same age as Tommy Keating.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Before we depart today, I would like to check in with someone, a new friend that we've made along the way, Van.
Well, I hate to disappoint you, but our friend does not make an appearance, and I've already forgotten her name. But
Dawn Pierce.
Dawn Pierce does not make another appearance.
I forgot about Dawn.
Oh, no.
So,
but you do have some more comments underneath California Dreams videos
absolutely.
from YouTube.
So this episode as well, of course, came from YouTube. It's available for free on there. What's the
Sweet Valley High 94.
That's
1994, right?
1994.
I think it's the full thing.
Either way.
1994,
You
yes.
look it up either way.
They have uploaded all the episodes or whatever. They control them. It's great. They're free. There's no commercials. It's perfect. So I watched this on YouTube then, which means I saw the YouTube comment section. Well, the previous episode we did where we discussed this, I read some comments about that episode. So I thought now I'll read some comments about this episode. But our good pal, what's her name again?
Dawn Pierce.
Dawn Pierce did not make an appearance. Instead, we have Terry Silver, who makes multiple appearances.
Sounds cool enough to weigh in with that name
And some
on this
more.
cool guy episode.
So right out of the gate, let's start with Marzi Malfoy. So already they're
Definitely
a villain.
not an alias.
They're totally a villain.
Definitely in
I've
Slytherin.
known many Malfoys.
Marzi Malfoy says, everyone has their moment of weakness. Strength comes from overcoming it. So, which is a positive note, right?
Absolutely. And that is Jake's arc in
That's
that episode.
super cool that she got that much inspiration from that episode.
But
That's awesome.
how do you name yourself after the Malfoys from Harry Potter, and then you get it when you're watching California
Well,
Dreams?
maybe she actually sided with Tommy Keeling, or whatever his name
Tommy
was.
Keating.
You're right.
I like to think that after seeing this episode, she understood she didn't have to be a tough guy anymore, and she changed her handle away from Malfoy.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
She got out of House Slytherin.
Marzi.
She was, yes.
Marzi Potter.
There you go.
It's the direct thing.
Marcy Weasley.
All right, next. Let's save Terry Silver for last.
Yes.
Next up, we have Jason Ryan. Jason Ryan says, Jenny Kwan's so beautiful. I wish I could have met her.
She's still alive.
She's very much still alive, but
Yeah.
also, what? That's a little bit
It
creepy,
is very
right?
creepy.
Yeah.
Is that Sly? Is that actually Sly's name?
It's just is Winkle in the name at all?
Sadly, no, but Jason Ryan, yeah. So he's
Jason Ryan.
It's really sad. He didn't get-
Possibly a creep. Possibly a Jenny Kwan stalker. Stay safe, Jenny Kwan.
So let's get into Terry Silver. Terry Silver actually has 3 comments.
Oh, man.
Oh man,
So-
going for the gold.
Yeah, this is the Drew Pierce of
Dawn
this? Dawn
Pierce.
Pierce of this. In the span of 10 minutes, I've forgotten the name 100
It
times.
is. It's a very generic name. Sorry, Don Pierce, if you're listening to this,
Not
but your
Terry
name
Silver.
is very forgettable.
So Terry Silver says, I was watching The Perfect Storm on television, and a very familiar face turned up in a scene with George Clooney.
Who has?
I was wondering, where have I seen this guy before? Then I realized it was an older Tommy.
That is right.
LOL. So apparently that guy was in The Perfect Storm.
I had mentioned that. Yes.
You know,
I wasn't listening.
I've actually
Well, I
never
wouldn't if I
watched
was
Perfect
either.
Storm. Have you guys watched Perfect
No.
Storm?
No.
It's
No one has.
Well, now I want to.
But I want to know, is it like a bad storm, or is it like just a perfectly fine storm?
Oh, it's a bad storm.
Oh, okay.
It's where a hurricane meets a tornado. I think Eminem summed it
Oh my
like,
God.
perfectly. Was
I
it a volcano, or you know what I'm talking about?
I know
That
exactly
song?
what you're talking about, but I can't remember.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was basically straight from the brain of Eminem. No, it's a really bad sea disaster. They're stuck out. It's George Clooney, and he's rugged.
and
you know,
Tommy.
and he's out there in the sea, and they've got this horrible storm, and there's no way they can get out of it. And all the ingredients are ripe for just a disaster.
Okay.
So we're talking waves. They're higher than their house.
Wow. That is intense. Are they on an island or something?
I don't remember
So
what
there's-
they're doing.
I
shipwreck.
assume there's a motorcycle race.
There must be. Wait, no, with Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks.
would drive, right? Who am I talking
George
about?
Clooney.
Clooney, never mind.
He'd ride a motorcycle.
Whatever, they're all the same.
That's Captain Phillips, where they had the motorcycle race.
Oh,
with,
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
with the
that's
pirates.
right.
Look at me, look at
Yeah.
me. I'm the motorcycle captain now.
I'm the safety squad captain now.
Okay, we have another Terry Silver quote here. Terry Silver says, in real life, Tommy wouldn't get scared of racing Cool Man's Curve. People like him take risks and die young.
Hell yeah, they do. I think I agree.
That's
think
not a bad point.
this betrays Tommy's character at the end.
Did you notice how his voice cracked? His acting job when he was
a little bit.
Golan's curve.
Do you think that was a conscious decision?
This guy's
no,
a
I
pro.
think he was actually.
He's been
scared.
acting since 20
I don't
years.
think they had a
else.
stunt double and they were about to do it on Coleman's curve. So there was a little bit of fear for real.
His voice cracked almost as much as his skin, which is that of, again, a middle-aged
49.
man.
He's 49.
Well, people like him take risks and die young. Clearly, they don't.
Yeah, he missed the cutoff. He missed the
let's
cutoff to be on the Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin poster.
I have one more Terry Silver quote for you. Terry Silver says, Mark, so this is from the perspective, Terry Silver's quoting Mark. Actually, when Sharky's first opened, it was a drive-thru. The girls used to wear these short skirts. Cotton blend, if my memory serves it right.
Ew.
And so now, out of character, Terry Silver says, how does Mark know? Did he move to the area in Series 3?
I have this in my notes.
Oh, wow.
Not that he moved there, but how would he know? Because he did. He's a new character who moved in from out of town.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know anything about Sharkies. I did then think about it again and be like, Brian, calm down, because I was pissed. Calm down. It's possible he was visiting Sly, and they would have gone to Sharkies at that time.
Yeah, that works.
Sly's always going to Sharkies.
And yeah.
Now, why he has this crystalline memory of perving on these girls, I don't know, because he's a Winkle.
Yeah,
Maybe.
it runs in the family.
Yeah.
Well, yes, I'm going to say this.
All right.
I talked a week or two ago about silk stockings.
Yes,
Yeah.
you did.
And the impact it had on
That's-
my young brain.
okay, you're
so
winning me
maybe
over.
that was an event that was formulative in
In his
teen
sexual
years.
awakening.
And that's his go-to.
Yeah, and you can't take that away.
When
just
he's
remembers
furiously
that-
jerking off in the back of a van,
Yeah.
that's what he's thinking.
which is what he does when the California Dreams, I was going to say go on tour, but we all know that is not happening, and they did not even play any music in this episode.
And that van doesn't drive.
That was sad. There was no band music. There was no Sam. So this episode was a little bit of a downer for me. That's
Pretty
all I'm saying.
cool, though.
I understand the cool guys showdown thing.
Battle of
is
the
appealing.
Bulge.
But you guys, if you weren't so busy making fun of Sam, you probably missed her too.
I did miss her.
I did. I'll be honest, I totally did miss Sam. And we're going to miss her for a long time now, because this is our last California Dreams episode.
Shoot.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, we could just change it to an exclusive California Dreams podcast.
I'll just take the same logo, but with palm trees behind it.
And
That's
we'll
it.
still just call it Boob Tube
Yeah, it's
Boys?
the same
It
thing.
is still on TV.
Yeah. And that's all that it is. That's all TV is just California.
And maybe Sweet Valley High will sponsor us. We'll have to reach out.
We'll be back next time to discuss a whole other TV show. Not going to tell you what it is yet, though.
I don't know.
I don't want you to tell me either. I want it to be a surprise.
We have
We record
shattered-
the show and you haven't watched it because you had no idea.
We've shattered the fourth wall. We wouldn't have it any other way. For Brian Vaughn, for Van Lee, for Spencer Hendricks, this has been the Boob Tube Boys.
Goodbye.